So today I want to talk about one of the biggest mistakes I see many clinics make, and it's literally costing them thousands, and it's around the function of lead follow-up. So chances are, if you're watching this, you're either currently running ads or you have run ads in the past. You're either managing it in-house or you have an agency managing it for you. Either or, if you're generating leads for a particular service or treatment, there is very crucial function of lead follow-up, and most clinics do this wrong, if they even do it at all. I've run into issues in the past where businesses are reluctant to follow up with leads because in their mind, if they really wanted it, they would just progress the inquiry further or they'd follow up on themselves. Let's just get one thing straight. Leads don't follow up on themselves. You can't expect someone to have clicked an ad to be begging for an appointment, because again, the nature of Facebook and Instagram ads is that you are disrupting their experience to present your service or your treatment in front of them. They weren't actively looking for it, so they're a little bit earlier into their buying cycle, unlike with, say, Google ads, where their level of intent is much higher, so they're actively seeking this treatment, for example. Now, with the businesses that do follow up, if you think sending one email or making one call is enough, you're setting yourself up to fail. Every lead has a shelf life, and if you're not quick and consistent with the follow-up, they'll just move on to someone else. The reality is that most clinics lose about 70% of their leads due to slow or non-existent follow-up, and this is a huge problem because they're leaving so much money on the table, and a lot of leads, they lose interest after 5 minutes, after a day, especially after a week, and definitely after a month. The more time lapses between when they submit their inquiry to when they receive a follow-up text or call, the less likely they are to convert, because the colder they are getting, the more the chance is that they're not even going to remember the inquiry. So you've probably heard this before. You call up a lead after about a week of them submitting their inquiry, and they say, no, who's this? No, I don't remember doing that. And that's just because so much time has passed that they've lost interest, they've forgotten who you were. The number one problem is you're too slow, way too slow. So leads are impulsive, and the journey is they see an ad, they're curious, they click, they submit their information, and then they hear nothing from you. So by the time you've responded, let's say after a week, they've booked somewhere else or they forgot that you exist. Studies show that leads contacted within 5 minutes have a 9 times higher chance of converting. So really the easy solution to this is you have to speed up your response. It's not good enough to be waiting days or weeks. Ideally, you want to get them within 5 minutes when they're still in that buying mindset. So really, you have to make speed a priority. You can use tools like automated messages or AI chatbots, whatever it is, to acknowledge the inquiry right away, even if it's in after hours when the clinic is closed. This at least buys you some time so that you can contact them the following day. The reality is every minute costs you money, so you have to think in responding in seconds, not hours. So now, at this point, let's say you've nailed the first step. You're contacting them very quickly, but being fast isn't enough. Here's where most businesses still lose the lead, and it is in the message itself. If your lead follow-up feels too generic or too robotic, you'll lose their interest as quickly as you got it. The key thing is you need to personalize it. You need to make it look human. And I think the psychology behind this is that it's much easier to ghost a bot or a robot. It's much harder to ghost a human being. And this is why I always prefer lead follow-up calls over texts, and especially over emails. I'm not a fan of lead follow-up emails at all. It has to be calls and texts. I wouldn't do one or the other. I would make sure that you're doing both. So now you're personalizing your messaging in a way that resonates with them. But there's another common pitfall that I see clinics falling into, which is giving up way too soon. The reality is most leads won't convert on the first follow-up. So what do you do instead? You have to stay consistent. Most businesses stop following up after one attempt. Either they've called the person and there was no answer, or they've texted the person and there was no response. you need to be persistent. Most people are not ghosting you or ignoring you because they're no longer interested. It's just life is busy, people get distracted. You have to create multiple touch points and make sure that you are following up with these people accordingly. So 80% of sales require at least 5 touch points. So you need to contact them multiple times within the week of their inquiry if you haven't made contact with them with the first few attempts. The best way to do this is to build a sequence of follow-ups comprised of text messages, phone calls, even emails, if you really want to make sure that you are hitting all channels and increasing the number of touch points. And again, it depends on your market. Sometimes your market may prefer emails. The best way to do this is to space it over the course of a week or two. And I hear a lot of clinics say that, like, oh, I don't want to be annoying them. I don't want to, you're not going to be annoying them. As long as you are persisting politely, you will most likely get the sale. It's just about polite persistence. That's what prevails. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to audit your follow-up processes. Are you fast? Are you personal? Are you persistent? If not, fix it. If you need help setting up the right systems, feel free to reach out to me. Drop a comment if this resonates. Give the video a like, a share, and I will see you in the next one.